Congratulations on your brand new saltwater pool. This is video 1 of 3 educational modules to help you learn everything there is to know about your brand new investment in family fun and relaxation. You've chosen a saltwater pool for a lot of really great reasons, and I'm going to tell you another one. Saltwater pools are very, very easy to maintain chemically. They are not a lot of work, they're not a big commitment, but they do have one unique challenge, and that is the getting to know you phase. They are very much that good girl that you meet at a party and decide you want to get to know her better and you want to know everything there is to know about her to start a good foundation of that relationship, and that's what a saltwater pool is. The only time that people are let down by their saltwater pool is when they happen to not get to know it in the beginning. The real key is testing water regularly yourself and figuring out what percentage of output your salt generator has to be set at to create the right amount of chlorine in your saltwater pool. So let's just jump right in, shall we? The first and most important thing to understand is your saltwater pool is still a chlorine pool. You're just making chlorine from Mother Nature's very own salt. We're splitting apart molecules. You're taking the NaCl from salt and breaking it into Na and Cl. We'll talk a little bit more about it when I show you how your salt cell works. But essentially the gist is water flows through your salt cell. It's zapped with electricity. You break apart the molecule. The chlorine goes into the pool to kill bacteria. When the cell is full of sodium, it knocks that off of the blades inside the cell and it comes back to the pool and the whole process starts all over again. So, how much chlorine do you put in and how often is really dependent on your pool's temperature, usage, and our weather. And the percentage that you change on your salt cell itself really does take 2 to 3 days for any change you do in your mechanical system to be reflective in your pool water. So that's why testing is so important. So the first and most important thing to do is to grab your handy test strips, and I would recommend testing every 2 to 3 days, plus once a week for sure on the same day of the week, no matter what, so you get a consistent vibe of what your chemistry is like. So just pop the top. You're going to grab your test strip. I have one already ready to go. Don't forget to close the lid. That's the thing I always forget to do, and I end up with a whole pool full of beautiful test strips. Dip and swirl for about 3 seconds. Pop up, and then just compare your colors. So the most important thing for you to look at is really just what is your chlorine level. This pool has a low chlorine level, so on your percentage of output, you would change your percentage to 100%, and you would add some Pristiva Premium Shock, which we'll talk about more in just a minute. You will ignore the bromine pad on your test strips. pH, alkalinity, and calcium hardness, let us maintain those for you. Bring in samples to the lab whenever they look not quite in the right ranges, and we'll help you get them into balance. For folks who want to balance themselves at home, that's great. We have a handy-dandy little website tool that you can use where you take a picture of a test strip, email the form to us, and then we'll email you a prescription. If your chlorine is ever too high, that means turn your percentage of output down. Really what we're looking for is an ideal 1 to 3 parts per million all the time. If you were to test your water in your pool right now, I bet you that level will be 0. That's why this test strip shows 0, because you haven't added any salt to your pool, you haven't shocked your pool, there's nothing maintaining chlorine in your pool, so we need to establish that fairly quickly. The best way to establish a salt level is not by boosting your salt unit. That is going to increase it slowly over time, and it could take days. In that period of time, your water could go cloudy, you could get some algae, and it's technically unsafe, as we want to keep a chlorine level between 1 to 3 parts per million all the time. So the best way is to use Pristiva Premium Shock, which is a saltwater specific product. When you're adding products to your saltwater pool, make sure they are designed for a salt pool, because your salt pool is special. So all you do is follow the prescribed dose. In a pool this size, we'd use 1/2 kilogram. So you just walk and sprinkle like feeding the chickens. Most products that you're applying to your pool are just a simple walk and sprinkle. And then you can swim in 15 minutes. Don't forget to check your chlorine level about an hour after adding the shock to make sure it's come up to that ideal range. That's essentially the gist of what you need to do on a regular basis. Now, there are 3 other things to talk about. One is monthly maintenance. On the specific day of the week that you choose, but do it consistently, like the first Sunday of every month, for example. Or I do mine when I give my dogs their heartworm medication. You will add primer and you will add shock. So, primer's job is to prevent staining, scaling, keep your salt cell lasting a good long time, make your water sparkly, make your water soft. This product simply gets applied into your skimmer. So, follow me this way, shall we? Let's go for a little walk. So on a monthly basis, you're going to take your primer, which is really the key to having your salt pool be as easy to maintain. There are many, many different ways of maintaining a salt pool, but the Pristiva system, which is what you have gotten with your pool, really is the most effective with the least amount of synthetic chemicals, the least amount of product, the least amount of work, the least amount of time, which is why that's what we recommend for you. So primer is the key to having this function correctly. So with primer, all you do is just pop it open, refer to your prescription. In video 2, we talk about how to read a printout. Every pool has a different dosage, so look at your monthly maintenance printout to find out how much primer your pool needs. So you just sprinkle it slowly into your empty skimmer basket. This pool only needs half a kilogram monthly. Most in-ground pools will need about 1 kilo per month. After that goes in, you would want to add half a kilogram of shock, or 1 kilogram of shock in an average in-ground pool. When you put the shock in, it's going to bind the primer molecules to your salt molecules and get all of the magic to actually work. Just like when our chlorine was low, open it, give it a sprinkle across the pool surface, bada boom, bada bing, you're done. That's your monthly maintenance. Where is the salt, you say? Very good question. That is the 3rd thing to maintaining your pool in a great condition. For your particular pool, you want to be making sure that you're only using Pristiva premium salt. All salt is not created the same. When your pool is freshly filled, there's no salt in it at all. So you're going to be putting in hundreds of kilograms of salt into your pool. You'll probably also be adding between 3 and 10 bags every spring when you freshly fill. The only time that you lose salt from a saltwater pool is when you're actively pumping out water. So, we get too much rain and you pump some water out, you're going to be diluting your salt. Partially drained for winterizing, going to be diluting your salt. When you go shopping and take a look at all the kinds of salt that there are out there, when you look at the percentages of 99% pure salt, please remember that if you're adding even something small, like only 100 kilograms of salt into your pool, unless it is 100% pure salt designed specifically for swimming pools, and Pristiva premium salt is really the only 100% pure salt there actually is, you could be adding extra organic material or trace metals that could cause some fairly significant chemical challenges, chemical side effects per se. So, let's use an example of 100 kilograms. So you need 100 kilograms of salt to get your salt to an ideal level. It's 99% pure salt in some big old box that you got at a box store. It's less expensive, absolutely sure. When you put that 100 kilograms of salt in, what's going to happen is you'll be adding 1 kilogram of organic material. If you've ever felt how much 1 kilogram is, that's actually fairly significant. And when I say organic material, I'm being fairly polite in what I say. There can be things like algae, dirt, fecal matter from birds. How particular salt is manufactured is important. Pristiva salt is actually pumped directly from the ocean in Halifax into a facility, and it's mechanically evaporated and kept clean. Most kinds of salt are just ocean water pumped into a pond and then allowing the sun to evaporate so that you're left with the salt. If any of you have actually walked past any of our retention ponds in Winnipeg, you see how many geese are in there. What are the geese doing in that pond? What kind of algal blooms are growing in that pond? When that salt is scraped up and it's put into a pretty little box, all of that organic material is then going into your pool. Now, hiccups happen, it's fine. If you choose to use salt other than Pristiva premium salt when you're getting your water tested, please let us know. And the reason is we can do some extra analysis to try to chemically treat for those things that are in your water. So your weekly routine will be more significant. It'll be weekly as opposed to monthly. There might be some extra products that you have to add to get rid of the trace metals and other organic material that go in when other kinds of salt go in, but certainly we can help. So just let us know how we can help in any way, shape, or form, or just make your life easy and add your Pristiva salt. When you are adding your initial dosage of salt, either in the spring or now that the pool is brand new and freshly filled, look at your prescription printout to see how many bags you need. We always like to advise to add them slowly. So if your printout calls for 18 to 20 bags, only add 2 or 3 bags a day, brush behind it with your pool brush or put in your robotic prowler cleaner and help that stir things up for you. And then you can swim within 15 minutes. You can certainly be putting product into the pool and then swimming right after. Just follow the back labels. It's also important to have some auxiliary chlorine at home. So some chlorine sticks or chlorine pucks to use whenever your salt unit's not operating. For example, if you're adding your initial dosage of salt and your generator isn't going to be operating for 3 to 5 days, we don't want to have a chlorine level of 0 like we had today. So to have some chlorine sticks in your skimmer basket to help chlorinate the pool until your salt unit is actively generating. Also, if your water is excessively cold or it's ever down for some mechanical service, it's nice to be able to have that extra little bit of comfort and protection there for you. So that's essentially it. Make sure your salt level is ideal by having water lab tests done. On a monthly basis, add primer to keep your water soft and your salt cell lasting a good long time. And shock it to gas away wastes, reestablish your chlorine, and monthly bond your primer to your salt. And that's all that you have to do. A salt pool really is a simple pleasure. Now that you know everything there is to know about the poolside chemistry, let's talk a little bit about your mechanical system. This is the salt cell that I was referring to earlier. It's a little piece of equipment, likely right at your pool pad by your pump filter and heater. And inside this little piece of plastic is where all of the magic happens. Inside this cell, there are 5 metal blades that are electrified, breaking apart those molecules of sodium chloride into chlorine and sodium. Couple of things to look at on a regular basis on your particular salt unit. The first is your salt level. Every pool likes a different amount of salt. So just look at this little green light and make sure that it's a solid green color. If it's flashing green, it means your salt is too high. That doesn't hurt anything, just don't add any salt until it stays as a solid green. If it is ever red, that means your salt is low. If there's no light at all, contact our service department. Next is just the power to the unit. You want it to be green. Next is flow. If it's ever red like this one, obviously, this is the middle of our showroom, there's no water actively flowing through it. If it's ever red, that normally means that your water level is too low, your skimmer or pump baskets are dirty, or your filter needs to be cleaned. Green means water is flowing through and you're actually able to make chlorine. The most important thing is sanitizer output. This is where we're going to test your water, and if your chlorine is ever low, press the more button until your chlorine increases. If your chlorine is too high, press less. Please remember that anytime that you make a change to the sanitizer output, it will take 48 to 72 hours to actively show on your test strips for that change to be reflective. So, pressing more, say for example your chlorine is low like ours was today, and your normal output is 60%. Well, we would turn that to 100%. Leave it there for 3 days, test the water, and make sure that the chlorine level is good. If it's good, we'd keep it where it is. If the chlorine is high, we would go down in a 20% increment. And then repeat that until you find your magical sweet spot. You will always be changing the sanitizer output. Very few people are lucky enough to have an indoor pool where you consistently have the same kind of environment and bather load. In an outdoor environment, really, this is the most important thing to be doing on a regular basis to make sure that your chlorine production is perfect. If you ever have any mechanical challenges, lights that don't look how they should look, please make sure you reach out to our service department. Anything chemically that you might have questions about, please give us a call, send us an email, or an online chat. We are absolutely here to help. Now stay tuned for video 2, how to read your prescription that's emailed to you on a monthly basis and take care of your water balance, the pH, alkalinity, calcium hardness, and other things that are involved in water chemistry to make sure that your salt pool lasts as long as possible and is as comfortable as you want it to be.